Oh, hello, hello.
Hi,
How are
I
you?
can hear you. Yes, good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good, good, good. Well, we are very excited to have you. You are our last speaker of the day, last but not least. And you are here to tell everyone a bit about your journey. You were an art student. You're from a working class background, which I think is really important to highlight because you've had such an incredible career journey, and I think so many people will resonate with your story. So should we get into it?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so do you want to just, yeah, I guess introduce yourself, tell us a bit about your career journey, and studying art.
So, for context, yeah, my name's Ekam. I'm from Southall in West London, and I was born into a Punjabi family. Um, and this probably sounds very, very similar to a lot of young people who want to be in the arts. I went through phases. I want to be a dog walker, I want to be this, I want to be that. But I always knew that my passion was anchored in the arts, whether that was, doing things creative like just drawing or painting or, going, looking at things that I really adored. I just knew that my passion was something more creative rather than something a bit more traditional, like working in an office, which I ironically do now, or what I thought were just other normal jobs. Um, and yeah, because of that upbringing and it not necessarily being a normal thing for my family, um, there was a lot of whoa, being an artist is a hobby, it's not a job. But being the stubborn person I was like, no, I want to make this happen. So at school, I always did like an art subject. And again, a lot of my teachers were used to the South Asian kind of background and the culture of, you'll go to university or college and do something that's more traditional, like maths or science, humanities. And again, in hindsight, they were like, no, we always knew that you weren't as interested in our lessons. And again, you were always just in the art department working on your sketchbook and this and that.
Mm.
So, yeah,
And
that was my background.
were you good at any other subjects apart from arts or
I was good at things like history and English. I realized I was actually good at things where I could be a bit more expansive and not necessarily. I always think of things like English or history different to maths and science, where there is a right and wrong answer.
Mm.
Whereas you could always kind of, especially with English, be a bit more expansive. But again, I had this feeling inside where I was like, it's not my passion. Whereas I just knew that being more creative was at my hands and everything else was where my passion was.
Yeah, yeah. I actually think I was similar to you and like growing up in like my parents are like Chinese immigrants.
Mm,
And I think it is, yeah, you kind of don't realize until you look back that, yeah, you do listen to your parents, you do listen to your family. You don't want to make a scene or like, people are always, yeah, careers are really important, I think, for
mm,
our cultures, and arts is definitely not something that they see as stable.
yeah.
I think me and my brothers either went into like accounting, medicine, um, business, that kind of stuff. And now none of us do that now.
Mm.
Um, so what was your experience? I guess coming from a working class background, like, did you feel like you had imposter syndrome at all, or were you quite shy growing up? Or, like, how did you kind of come into your own?
I think definitely going to, going from, my kind of cozy school in, West London, where I think I was confident in myself and I was in like in a bubble almost. And then I was quite fortunate enough to be selected for Central St Martin's as part of their foundation course. And I got there and I was just like, whoa, I'm a tiny fish in an ocean. And the imposter syndrome kicked in there and then, and kind of seeing other people and their backgrounds where they'd speak to the tutors about, you know, I went to this exhibition with my parents when I was little and I did this and that, and like artist names flowing off like their tongues, and just understanding things so quickly. And I almost felt like I need to be a chameleon and adapt to this straight away, because also the tutors were from a similar background as them, so for them it was kind of very quick peer-to-peer thing. So yeah, I think I was doing a lot of code switching, and like teaching myself how to kind of speak more like them and picking up the vocabulary, and also I think dropping a lot of like my West London accent.
Mm.
um so yeah, I think they were quite interesting formative years, and I think definitely like the shyness of realizing that I was so different to everyone else. But I think in that same aspect, because I was one of the very few non-white people on my course, both in foundation and at uni, I actually was using my culture as a Punjabi woman as kind of the anchor of my artwork. And even if I wasn't necessarily vocally confident about speaking about my culture, I was using my artwork to express that instead, and almost using that as a chance to educate other people who were from very, middle class backgrounds, or, from not as diverse areas.
That's so interesting. And was there a point where it kind of shifted for you to be like, actually, I don't need to have all this experience and names, artist names, and I don't know, was there a moment where you were like, actually, my difference is my advantage?
Yeah, I think so. I think I mean, this is such an annoying thing to say, but I think as with age, you kind of begin to learn about yourself a lot more and become more confident. And it was in, I think, my second year of uni where I was like, actually, having these conversations with people who are so different to me, they're not going to learn much if I continue to be a chameleon and
Mhm.
adapt to them, and actually, using my unique experience and kind of having more interesting conversations rather than being like, yeah, yeah, I'm kind of adapting to you, rather than like, no, we're all different people and we have got different backgrounds. Um, and yeah, not being ashamed of where I came from is something that I was beginning to kind of
Yeah.
let go of.
Yeah. And you're right, it does come with time and age,
Mm,
which is
very annoying,
annoying.
but nice
So
to know
you
we get there.
Yes, exactly. You will get there. So you finished art school, university, and then what happened? Was it easy to find work after that?
Well, I graduated in 2020, the year COVID took over the world, which was I think in some ways, at least everyone was in the same boat, newbies like me and experts, because we were all adapting to a changing world. Um, and yeah, thinking back, I think it just made me really, really shift this idea of this is what I want to be when I'm older, and I want to, become an artist and this and that. And I was like, actually, I need to be flexible, because we're all being forced to be flexible right now. Um, and yeah, I think that's what I did, rather than saying no to opportunities, but because it wasn't in my tunnel vision, or saying, actually, yes, I am going to move to the Midlands and, kind of like meet the creatives there, rather than thinking, no, I'm gonna stay in London or stay in Brighton where I was studying at the time. So yeah, I think with many other people, just learning to be fluid. Yeah,
Trying new things, being open. I guess you have to
yeah,
be more
there
open.
was no other option, so
Yeah.
being thrown into it.
And so how did you land your role at Somerset House?
That was quite a trail to get there. So after uni, I then moved up to Nottingham to live with my extended family there. um, Again, thinking that maybe this is where I'll land my kind of long term career. But that was where I then began to play with the idea of being a freelancer, because it was something that I had never thought of when I first decided that I'm going to study the arts as like a formal route. So there I was, connecting with other local creatives around my age, who are more kind of born and bred in Nottingham and in the Midlands. So kind of learning from them and their way of seeing community, which for me was really enlightening, having been from my West London bubble to my really scary kind of ocean, which was uni, and then going to a place where people really, really love to uplift each other. Um, so that was one thing that I'll never take for granted, even though I learned that being a freelancer wasn't for me because I really like having routine. Seeing others and seeing how people would champion their friends, or at events they would become, I love what you're wearing, I love, the music you're playing, let's, become connected. That was really, really great. Um, and yeah, after realizing that I needed to kind of have an anchor in a job, I was applying for placements such as the Kickstarter placement, which was a government run scheme
Mm.
to kind of help with the brunt of COVID and the arts not having the money to employ young creatives. So I did that in Nottingham for 6 months. And then was back to square one when they were like, we haven't got the money to keep you on. So I was constantly looking for jobs in London, in Nottingham, and then eventually made the decision to move home. And then constantly applying for jobs on LinkedIn, or, not just creative jobs, but jobs in retail and all over, because it got to the point where, going to the job centre wasn't fulfilling anymore and I had to be more flexible. So through all that resilience and then just applying, it was actually through platforms such as Run the Check and being a bit more expansive with my job search. And yeah, keeping using social media as a tool to kind of find things rather than just a void of like, endless scrolling and, everything and anything. And that's how I eventually found the entry role at Somerset House.
Okay. And so you probably didn't think you were going to work at Somerset House. It probably wasn't like,
Uh,
no.
Absolutely not. I think by that point, I had had so many rejection emails or just kind of no responses from applications. I was already in the mindset that if I have an interview, this will be great. But if not, it's just, I think that thick skin that a lot of us develop when we're going through the application
Mm,
process, where, unfortunately, it's okay, on to the next one. But I think that resilience over the years and kind of having always being anchored and knowing that, this is what I really want to do, I think that's what kind of kept me going rather
yeah.
than, I know it's again really difficult when you're in that phase or in that time, but when you feel like, where can I go, or what's going to happen if you constantly get, hit with those red brick walls. But yeah, I think resilience was the one thing that kept me going through the whole thing.
And so what would be your one piece of advice for someone who is struggling at the moment to find that first opportunity? I guess, is it resilience?
Definitely resilience, but I think, I mean, now that I'm at Somerset House and the programs that we run, Upgrade Yourself, a shameless plug, which is all about uplifting aspiring creatives, is definitely find your community and don't be afraid to look for community as well, because a lot of people are in the same boat. um, it's, as we all know, it's a really difficult market at the moment, but you're not alone when it comes to um, wanting to break in, or perhaps wanting to create a collective. And I think you'd be surprised as to how many people are really willing to be open, and make new friends and make new connections, learn from each other. So that's what I'd say. If Avenue A isn't working, then you always have the community avenue, which again, it's just really great to then, speak to and sound ideas off of,
Yeah.
and even just bond in the fact that we're all in this together.
Mm. And tell us more about Somerset House then. You mentioned obviously upgrade yourself, but Somerset House has lots of programs and opportunities for young people. Tell us more about them. And also just because I think people think of Somerset House as this big building,
Yeah,
with an ice rink at Christmas.
yeah,
Probably don't assume that they support younger people.
yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's funny whenever, I speak to people my age and I mention Somerset House, the first thing they say is that where the ice rink is? Um, but yeah, Somerset House is a very special place where we have such like labyrinth of communities here, whether they are creative enterprises who have offices here, freelancers who have hot desks, and loads of artists and makers. So one of the routes to get in, which is upgrade yourself, we have different kind of strands of programs depending on the one that suits you best. So our
Mm.
programs are for 16 to 30-year-olds. We have the Upgrade Yourself monthly sessions, which on the first Wednesday of every month, it's like an intimate masterclass on a specific medium or practice. For examples, we've had previous sessions on how to curate your own gallery, or practical advice on how to write a funding application, what's the
Mhm.
101 for if you want to be a creative producer and you want to put on your own event. And we also adapt our programming to the feedback. So if we have a lot of feedback, about we want to get into music or this or that, we'll then program depending on it. So it's really, really flexible. We have the takeovers, which are our version of like a late event, kind of like a take late, where it's career focused and it's all about networking and meeting new people. So, along with workshops which were inspired by the exhibition, we'll also have either like a curator's tour or an artist talk about what their inspiration was behind the exhibition, their own career journey. And we also have not just the events, but durational programs such as the Creative Interview Placement, which I was really lucky to be part of, which is a year-long paid placement with two hosts in the building where you get to really sink your teeth in and learn more about what it is to work in the arts. And we have a range of hosts, so they can be music startups or graphic design firms, dance companies. You think it, and we probably have that host in the building. And we will be launching that hopefully in February next year. So please keep an eye out. And we have the Future Artist Program, which is a durational 10 to 12-week program where you get to work with a group of other young people and learn directly from artists in the building. And that will also be launching at the end of this year. So also keep an eye out for that. So that's Upgrade Yourself in a very small nutshell, which are all completely free to attend as well. And then we have Makeversity, which is, if I can sum up correctly, um, it's a community of makers who are based in the basement of the building, so quite hidden away. But again, they have their own maze of just equipment and facilities, such as a photo booth, woodworking, 3D printers, and they have initiatives for makers on a mission. So if you're a part of a group and you need some space to kind of test an idea, there's free space for you there. Or makers under 30, where you have free or subsidized hot desking space. If you, again, you're more of like a tactile maker and you've got some product designs or, bio designs that you want to test out. And that's a really great initiative where you're in the heart of like its own creative community and working with such just amazing and crazy thinkers and builders. And then, sorry, we have loads of different pathways. And we also have the Black Business Residency, which is a program for um, Black businesses who are in the early stages of their career. And as part of that, you get mentoring, free desk space at the co working space, the exchange. And wraparound development, a showcase at the end of the year, and also money towards your business to help upscale it. But all of these can be found on the Somerset House website through the talent pathway section, so you can really find which part of the pathway you sit on and where you really want to excel in Somerset House.
Amazing. Well, all of that sounds great. And I think that's it though. No one really thinks of Somerset House or some of
Mm-mm.
these like institutions, but a lot of them, all of them offer those kind of programs and pathways. So definitely check out Somerset House website. Um, and the time is already past, Ekam.
I
I know
know.
so quickly, doesn't it? I guess like, do you want to just end on again, what would be your biggest advice for, say, an art student who's just coming out of uni or college,
Mm.
um, to basically help them if they feeling a little bit lost? What would be your biggest advice?
I've more so thought about what I didn't do and what the older me would say.
Yeah.
Uh, Definitely be organized with things like your CVs and your portfolios, and making the use of like free tools like Canva or Google Docs,
Mm,
and keeping that up to date rather than panicking and thinking I can't remember what I did in the last 6 months. So being really organized, is just so helpful when it comes to applying for things. And like I said, just don't be afraid to reach out to other people, and building that community, uh,
yeah.
because yeah, you'd be surprised how many connections you can make.
Love that. Oh, well, thank you so much for all of your wisdom, all of your advice, all of your honesty, to finish off Tuesday's sessions. But yes, thank you so much. We will definitely obviously be sending out links to everyone. This talk will be recorded as well. So if you want to share it with anyone or you want to watch back, this will be available on the Eric website as well.